What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Tuesday, June 25th, 2024, and I have another emergency alert to share with you guys. Right now, it is 13:13 Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from Eastern Europe and also from the Middle East. So, I want to start with the situation in Ukraine. So, Russia has reportedly decided to set up a no fly zone over the Black Sea, and Russia is now threatening to shoot down American reconnaissance drones after the Crimean incident over the weekend, which Russia blames on the United States. And what you're looking at here is some video footage that may actually disprove Russia's claim that it was a purposeful strike by the Ukrainians on this beach in Crimea. So you can clearly see the water splashing here. And this is the bomblets from the ATACMS missile, which have cluster warheads. And what happened was the Russians tried to intercept it over this beach, and by shooting at the ATACMS missile over the beach, it released the bomblets. Okay, so when the Russians tried to intercept the missile, it caused the missile to release its bomblets, and the bomblets came crashing down on this beach. But you can see most of them actually coming down over water. But from what I understand is that this ATACMS missile was destined for Belbek, which is a military base in Crimea. And the Russians basically tried to shoot this missile down on its way to this military airfield. And they're blaming the Ukrainians and the U.S., specifically the U.S. They're saying that it was the U.S. that did this. And because of the RQ-4 Global Hawk drone that was airborne the night before this happened, they're saying that it was all the U.S.'s planning that allowed this to happen. And so now Russia is going to set up a no-fly zone, and they're going to shoot down American recon drones in the Black Sea. And here we have a video of Russia's permanent representative to the UN. He said that the U.S. is directly responsible for this situation in Crimea. So let me just play this clip for you. And he says he wants to bring this up at the next Security Council meeting of the UN.
Kiev regime, supported by the USA, and carried out a heinous attack against civilians in the Russian city of Sevastopol in Crimea. Ukraine launched 5 US-supplied ATACMS missiles armed with cluster munitions. All flight missions were introduced by the US experts based on the US satellite intelligence. An American Global Hawk UAV was patrolling the airspace over the Crimean Peninsula. The beach area, packed with peaceful citizens enjoying their weekend and Orthodox holiday, was hit. Fire came from the sky on unprotected people who had nowhere to hide. Sand turned into blood. The video footage from the scene is just shocking. 151 persons were injured, among them 27 children. 4 people died, including 2 children. They will never have a chance to enjoy a summer day again. The investigative committee of the Russian Federation has started to investigate this heinous crime. All responsible for this and other terrorist attacks will be held accountable. The fact that the US is directly involved in this crime is beyond any doubt. Washington and its allies foster a neo-Nazi regime in Kiev and encourage their puppets in Kiev to commit terrorist acts against civilians. Recently, the NATO countries gave the Kiev regime a green light to conduct strikes deep into the Russian territory.
So this is huge news, guys. Russia said multiple times yesterday that the U.S. will pay the price for this, so we'll have to wait and see what they do. Guys, our digestive systems are being damaged by a potential toxin that's in all of the so-called healthy foods that scientists have been telling us to eat with a fraudulent food pyramid for the longest time. And this potential toxin causes digestive issues, according to Dr. Gundry, a world renowned cardiologist. This is affecting millions of people worldwide. Warning signs include weight gain and fatigue and digestive discomfort and stiff joints, even skin problems. Well, Dr. Gundry explains these side effects are often mistaken for normal signs of aging because digestive issues develop usually over a matter of years and sometimes even decades. I can assure you that the damage is probably caused by these so-called health foods, and it's far from normal. The good news is you can easily help fix the problem from your own home. It's very simple. You just have to know which foods are actually healthy and which contain this hidden toxin. So you can find this out for yourself at gutcleanseprotocol.com/NYPrepper. That's gutcleanseprotocol.com/NYPrepper. And the link is in the description below this video, because after years of research, Dr. Gundry has decided to release an informative video to the public, free and uninterrupted, showcasing exactly which foods you need to avoid. So you can find that video at gutcleanseprotocol.com/NYPrepper, and the link is in the description below this video. Now, yesterday, Russia claimed to have shot down an American RQ-4 Global Hawk, and a U.S. military official told Reuters that this did not happen. So the U.S. is denying that that happened, but we do know that Russia is now setting up a no-fly zone over the Black Sea, and they're going to start shooting down our recon drones, apparently. We'll have to wait and see if they actually have the fortitude to do that. Want to just show you guys what we have going on over the United States this afternoon. We currently have a B-52 nuclear bomber looping over southern Louisiana and getting aerially refueled. We also have 2 nuclear war command and control planes up in the air, Boeing E-6B Mercuries. These planes communicate with our submerged nuclear-armed submarines, and they can remotely launch all of our Minuteman III ICBMs. And we also have a lot of activity around Florida this afternoon. You can see a bunch of these aerial refuelers off the coast of the Panhandle here. You can see 2 aerial refuelers here looping. They've been looping up here for a long time. We also have another aerial refueler here off the coast of Tampa looping. We have a Coast Guard Ocean Sentry plane that just completed a pass over the Florida Keys. And then we also have a Sub Hunter looping off the coast of Cocoa Beach. And we currently have a Polish reconnaissance plane looping along the Polish border with Russia right now. And Ukraine launched a massive strike on Belgorod, Russia, last night with drones, causing significant damage to several buildings. Multiple videos have surfaced showing drones impacting various structures, accompanied by the distinctive buzz of low-flying Ukrainian drones in the background. Apparently, there was damage to gas lines and buildings, according to the governor of the Belgorod Oblast. Multiple buildings, vehicles, and a gas supply line were damaged, while injuring 4 people, Governor Vyacheslav Golodkov said. And I did see the footage. Unfortunately, I cannot share it here on this platform, but it was crazy, guys. Okay, so after this strike in Crimea, which, by the way, took out an early warning radar, that's the 4th early warning radar that Ukraine has taken out, and then the situation on the beach, and then now Ukraine striking Belgorod with drones. So I am very concerned that Russia is going to launch a massive retaliation strike on Ukraine sometime this week. And I want to update you on the situation with Lebanon. It does appear that Israel is on the verge of invading Lebanon and launching a massive air campaign against Hezbollah. So Australia is now calling on its citizens to leave Lebanon immediately. So what you're looking at here is a website from the Australian government, and it has this travel warning here. It says latest update, updated June 25th. We continue to advise do not travel to Lebanon due to the volatile security situation and the risk of the security situation deteriorating further. Australians in Lebanon who wish to leave should leave now while commercial flights remain available. If the security situation deteriorates and there is armed conflict, it's likely that Beirut Airport will close at short notice. You may be unable to leave for an extended period. Increased tensions in the Middle East may result in airspace closures, flight cancellations, and diversions and other travel disruptions. The Australian government may not be able to assist you to leave in such circumstances. So, this is huge news, guys. Australia now telling its people to leave Lebanon, and this comes after Canada has been evacuating their citizens from Lebanon. They have 45,000 Canadians living in Lebanon. They've sent the military to evacuate them. We also had Kuwait telling people to leave Lebanon, and multiple ambassadors from Western countries like the UK, France, Italy, the United States have been told to leave Lebanon as well. Canada on Tuesday urged its citizens to leave Lebanon while they can, warning of the risk of escalating violence between Israel and Hezbollah in the region. Foreign Minister Melanie Joly, in a statement, called for Canadians to depart while commercial flights remain in operation. The security situation in Lebanon is becoming increasingly volatile and unpredictable due to sustained and escalating violence between Hezbollah and Israel and could deteriorate further without warning, she said. So, huge news, guys. It looks like this is about to go down, and when it does, I will go live 24/7 to cover it. And here we have some footage that was posted over the weekend showing a massive amount of Israeli tanks and artillery being moved to the border of Lebanon. I don't know the date of this video. I don't know when this was actually filmed, but we do know it was right on the border of Lebanon. And the Supreme Court in Israel has issued an order to conscript Jewish religious school students into the army. Okay, so they're now going to be drafting young men into the army. Why would they do that? Because they're going to go into Lebanon soon and they need as much manpower as possible. And apparently, Israeli gas rigs in the Mediterranean will shut down when the Hezbollah war begins. And members of the Biden administration have acknowledged that an Israeli invasion and full-scale war with Hezbollah is likely imminent, and they are preparing accordingly. Okay, so the Biden administration is already preparing for this. Reportedly, Biden is in his bunker, and he's not going to leave his bunker until the debate with Trump this Thursday. And there was a doomsday plane in the air late last night. It flew down to Barksdale Air Force Base from Offutt Air Force Base, which is a very strange time for a doomsday plane to be in the air in the middle of the night, very late at night. And the Jordanian police announced that they found more explosive devices in a commercial building southeast of the capital, Amman. Sources to Reuters emphasized that the events have a connection to what was called an Iranian plot to shake the kingdom. Okay, so it looks like Iranian proxies placed bombs in a commercial building southeast of the capital of Jordan. And Defense Minister Yoav Gallant met with the U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken in Washington, D.C., and said that the eyes of our enemies and friends are on the relationship between Israel and the U.S. We must quickly resolve the disagreements between us. This way, we will achieve our goals and weaken our enemies. And reports are coming in that Ismail Haniyeh, he's the leader of Hamas. Apparently, 9 of his family members were killed in an Israeli bombing in the western part of Gaza. And senior U.S. officials have begun giving blunt warnings to Hezbollah that the United States does not have the ability to stop an Israeli invasion of southern Lebanon, and that if Hezbollah decides to retaliate with a large-scale rocket and missile attack, the U.S. would provide assistance to Israel in the form of air defense munitions, intelligence, and even direct military support. Members of the Biden administration and other officials have seemingly come to terms that an Israeli invasion of southern Lebanon and thus a full-scale war with Hezbollah is likely imminent, and all they can do now is prepare, with a U.S. defense official reportedly saying Israel's got to do what they got to do. And here we have some video footage coming out of northern Iraq. The Turkish military has invaded northern Iraq. They're going after the Kurds. And the Turkish foreign minister said that we are on the verge of World War III, echoing statements made by the Serbian president, who said that we have 3 to 4 months until World War III starts. And recently, the U.S. Agency for International Development prepared a contract addressed to companies wishing to reconstruct the railways in Ukraine. In Washington, they plan to rebuild a 75-kilometer section of Ukrainian infrastructure between the Polish cargo terminal Mostyska 2 and the military airport near Lviv. The project also includes the reconstruction of intermediate stations on the section from Mostyska to Sknilov. In this section, the railway lines will be replaced with rails built according to European standards. The 1,520 millimeter wide road should be converted to 1,435 millimeter wide single track. This would allow NATO to start funneling in massive amounts of troops and equipment into Ukraine by rail in the event of an emergency or for the ongoing delivery of equipment. The Soviet gauge rails that Ukraine still uses end at the Polish border. So basically, they want to extend the European gauge railway to Lviv, so this way they can at least get some troops and equipment into Lviv, because as it stands right now, the European gauge railway ends right at the border of Ukraine. Okay. And here's another video coming from Iraq showing the Turkish forces arriving in Iraq. Okay, so Turkey has literally invaded Iraq. And the motorcade of Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban has been involved in an accident in Stuttgart, Germany. One person was killed. The 69-year-old driver of the car did not notice the restriction and ran into the motorcycle of a police officer accompanying Orban. As a result, the other motorcycle was thrown into the air, which caught fire. 2 police officers were seriously injured. One of them died in the hospital. Guys, I don't believe this. I think this was potentially an assassination attempt, and they're just making up this story because they don't want people to panic. And Poland has now deployed their military police to the Belarus border to reinforce troops that are already stationed there. Poland moved like 12,000 troops to their border with Belarus like several years ago. Now they're deploying military police there. And Romania will have the largest NATO airbase in Europe. Construction has started on a $2.7 billion project to expand the Mihel Kogalnisu airbase, which is strategically located near the Black Sea. Up to 10,000 NATO soldiers and their families will be able to live there. So this could be larger than Ramstein, guys, and it's going to be right next to Crimea, okay, right on the Black Sea. And Ursula von der Leyen will be nominated for a second term as the European Commission president. That's the president of the EU. And WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange is due to plead guilty on Wednesday to violating U.S. espionage law in a deal that will end his imprisonment in Britain and allow him to return home to Australia, ending a 14-year legal odyssey. Assange, age 52, has agreed to plead guilty to a single criminal count of conspiring to obtain and disclose classified U.S. national defense documents, according to filings in the U.S. District Court for the Northern Mariana Islands. Assange was first arrested in Britain in 2010 on a European arrest warrant after Swedish authorities said they wanted to question him over sex crime allegations that were later dropped. He fled to Ecuador's embassy, where he remained for 7 years to avoid extradition to Sweden. He was dragged out of the embassy in 2019 and jailed for skipping bail. He has been in London's Belmarsh top security jail ever since, from where he has for almost 5 years been fighting extradition to the United States. And this update was sponsored by My Patriot Supply. Guys, My Patriot Supply is doing a discount on their 1 month emergency food supply. And to get the deal, you got to go to preparewithnyprepper.com, and the link is in the description below this video. This is a 1 month freeze-dried food supply. It has a 25-year shelf life. Normal price is $237. They've dropped it down to $177. So that's a savings of $60. And it's all packed within 2 rugged, water-resistant buckets. Free shipping is included. $177 for 1 month of food. Where are you going to find a deal like that? They also have a general store, and they're always running discounts in their general store on various prepping and survival items. They have everything from MREs, potassium iodide, to survival seeds. And to get to their general store, you got to click on the My Patriot Supply logo at the top of the page when you get to preparewithnyprepper.com. And you'll see when you get there, they have everything you can imagine. So use the link preparewithnyprepper.com to get $60 off the My Patriot Supply 1 month emergency food supply. That's $180 for 1 month of food, free shipping included. The link is in the description below this video. And also check out their general store. They have everything you can imagine prepping and survival related, and they're always running various discounts there. So this is huge news, guys. Looks like Julian Assange is going to go free. And the U.S. Federal Reserve was allegedly hacked by ransomware group Lockbit, so that's not a good sign. And there was a 4.1 magnitude earthquake 15 miles southwest of Lamont, California, near the San Andreas Fault, so that's not a good sign. And what you're looking at here is the flight path of a U.S. presidential doomsday plane. This is the one that went down to Barksdale Air Force Base late last night. Now, Barksdale Air Force Base is home of Air Force Global Strike Command. They command the entire air leg of our nuclear triad, which includes our bomber force and our Minuteman III ICBMs. Okay, they're responsible for those two portions of our nuclear triad. So very interesting that a doomsday plane would go down there in the middle of the night. And here's the B-52 that's up in the air right now over southern Louisiana, getting aerially refueled. B-52s are part of our nuclear triad. Here we have a Russian presidential doomsday plane that flew to Novosibirsk late last night, and then it went back to Moscow. Very interesting flight here, and very unusual. It flew all the way up to the northern Urals over the Arctic Circle, and then it came down to Novosibirsk, and then it went back to Moscow. Very interesting. And we had a U.S. Air Force nuke sniffer plane get moved to Miami late last night as well, which is very interesting considering the situation in Cuba with the Russian nuclear sub and the Russian warships there. So I think they moved this nuke sniffer to Miami because they're going to be doing some observation here, some reconnaissance around Cuba to try to sniff out these submarines and try to detect any nuclear warheads that were deployed in Cuba. And here we have a U.S. Air Force missile detector plane, an RC-135 Cobra Ball. This plane can track the trajectory of missiles in the air, and it was looping over North Dakota last night for several hours. And here we have a Spanish Air Force reconnaissance plane patrolling the western shore of Latvia. And there was a NATO AWACS plane patrolling the tri-border region of Poland, Belarus, and Ukraine last night, and there was also a Polish border guard plane patrolling the border of Belarus as well. And we had a sub hunter plane as well as a combat sentinel plane patrolling just south of Taiwan overnight last night. And the combat sentinel planes are very rare. The U.S. Air Force officially only has 2 of them, and they provide reconnaissance information directly to the president and the Joint Chiefs. So if one of these planes is in the air somewhere, it means something serious is going down or about to go down, and they need to get more information about it and give it directly to our top generals and the president and the defense minister. Okay, so it does appear that China is preparing to invade Taiwan. We've seen Taiwan mine their northern and southern coasts with sea mines. They've mined their port cities as well. They've mined Kaohsiung, which is one of their big ports in the southern part of Taiwan. They put sea mines all around their port. They've been doing exercises on repelling amphibious beach landings by the Chinese on beaches that the Taiwan military has identified as being the likely avenues of approach. They call them red beaches. Okay, but for there to be a combat sentinel plane flying in the Taiwan Strait is extremely concerning. And China's Navy is now conducting amphibious landing drills in the South China Sea as tensions rise over control of the Philippine exclusive economic zone over 500 nautical miles away from the Chinese mainland. Chinese state television broadcaster CCTV reports that 3 landing ships, the Dangxiashan, Laotiashan, and Lushan, carried out a 4-day combat drill at an undisclosed location in the South China Sea. The drills focused on search and rescue, live fire, damage control, ship-to-ship mooring, smoke screens, and anti-drone air defense operations, a modern addition reflecting the recent evolution of unmanned aviation. These small landing ships date to the last generation of PLA Navy shipbuilding and are intended to deploy small numbers of troops or armored vehicles directly onto a beach. Okay, so this is extremely concerning, guys. They're practicing amphibious landings in the South China Sea. Last week, the Chinese Coast Guard personnel rammed and assaulted a Philippine resupply mission at the Second Thomas Shoal, injuring 8 Philippine soldiers and damaging several military RHIBs. One Philippine service member lost a thumb in the exchange, and images of Chinese troops wielding axes and knives circulated around the world. On Sunday, in a visit to the Armed Forces of the Philippines Western Command headquarters, the president of the Philippines, Ferdinand Marcos Jr., said that he was proud of the way that the Philippine troops at the Second Thomas Shoal responded to China's intense provocation with restraint. You demonstrated to the world that the Filipino spirit is one that is brave, determined, and yet compassionate, he said. Marcos emphasized that his administration does not seek war with China, but will not back down when it comes to its internationally recognized maritime boundaries. In defending the nation, we stay true to our Filipino nature that we would like to settle all these issues peacefully, and in the performance of our duties, we will not resort to the use of force or intimidation, Marcos said. But at the same time, we stand firm. Our calm and peaceful disposition should not be mistaken for acquiescence. We will never be subjugated and oppressed by anyone. Wow. Marcos presented the 73 troops who were involved in the resupply operation with an award with special recognition for the service member who was injured in the fight. Wow. So huge news coming out of the Philippines. Okay, China doing amphibious landing drills in the Philippine exclusive economic zone. Here we have a U.S. Navy drone patrolling Okinawa. This is pretty rare. That means that Okinawa is under a heightened level of alert. And here we have a bunch of reconnaissance planes patrolling off the coast of Baja California. This was late last night. you can see here an RC-135 rivet joint that was flying back and forth east to west, probably about 200 miles off the coast of Baja California. And then we also had an E-3 Sentry down in this area and a sub hunter. So potentially there could be Russian subs in this area. Something must be here for there to be an AWACS, a sub hunter, and an RC-135 in the same area. And with the RC-135 looping like this constantly, that is a sign that something must have been there. And here we have some aerial refuelers that were active off the coast of Panama City, Florida last night. Wanted to just give you guys an update on the tropics. So we do have one disturbance off the coast of Venezuela. It has a 20% chance of development right now, but it could turn into something once it gets into the Western Caribbean, where the water temperatures are really warm. So we got to keep an eye on it. For now, it's just a tropical wave, but in the coming days, it could potentially develop into something. And we have that massive sunspot that generated the global aurora 2 months ago, rotating back to the Earth-facing side of the sun. This would be its third rotation around the sun, and it's sunspot 3723. You can see it's a lot smaller than it was when it generated that massive global aurora, okay? But there are numerous Bible prophecies and Christian prophecies that talk about these global auroras occurring right before the outbreak of World War III. And actually, right before World War II started in 1938, there was a global aurora that was seen all the way down to the equator. And then about a year later, Hitler invaded Poland and kicked off World War II. Okay, so something big is about to go down, guys. Our nuclear forces are on high alert every single day now, which is extremely unusual. But I will be back later on tonight with more breaking news. I'll probably be going live, so make sure you're subscribed. Hit the bell icon down below so you get notified when I post these updates. Follow me on Telegram and Twitter. The links to my Telegram and Twitter are in the description below this video. But just make sure you guys are getting prepared physically, mentally, and spiritually. Make sure you're getting right with God. Make sure you're putting back your food, water, ammunition, self-defense tools. Make sure you have your bug out bags packed and ready to go. Practice using your gear. Practice with your bug out bag. Make sure you have a fallout shelter. Make sure you have a nuclear war survival plan. And until later on, take care. God bless. And don't forget the 3 Ps: prepare, practice, and persevere.